On Friday, this past Friday, my wife Kathy and I joined her mother for dinner. It was a Mother's Day celebration a few days early, and we arrived on time, 5 o'clock sharp, to be buzzed into the lobby to sign in and to get a dose of hand sanitizer for good measure. We came with a balloon and a vase full of flowers that Kathy had arranged just so as a gift to her mother while we would sit and we would eat with her. We didn't find her where we were used to seeing her in the common area with the TV, but instead she sat among a crowded dining room where we saw her alone at a table set for 3, waiting for us. The care facility where she stays brought her down to the dining hall with the other residents there, where the room continued to fill up with loved ones. So after some hugs and kisses, we sat and we ate and we snapped pictures and we loved in that very moment where love grows. I saw similar snapshots at other tables. I saw a woman with gray hair about my age helping her mother put on her jacket, and she smiled at her when she looked at her, and she looked her in her eyes and pulled her mother's hand through her jacket sleeve. Has anyone ever looked in your eyes when they're helping you? It's powerful. It's the epitome of love in kindness, to look into someone's eyes when they care enough to do something meaningful, like threading your hand through your sleeve or washing your feet as a sign of servitude like Jesus did. It really is the epitome of love in kindness. I saw an elderly lady across the way, sitting at her own table with her own gathering, and she was looking at me while I wasn't looking at her. And when I caught her stare, she smiled, a very sweet smile, and she raised her hand and she waved at me. Maybe I reminded her of someone. Maybe she reminded me of someone too. I saw so many expressions of love from so many folks who didn't say a word, but instead it showed through their actions for what God calls us all to do, to love one another on this earth, to deny ourselves, and to acknowledge God in the care of others. That experience made for a very wonderful moment. It was a snapshot that was suitable for hanging on the fridge among the keepsakes that we memorialize as important and necessary. I sat there witnessing this moment in time, a moment that looked very differently a year ago when my mother-in-law's health was very different too. She celebrated this Mother's Day meal with us in this wonderful place due to a heaviness of this life, and we celebrated with her due to our promise of this life to love always. My thoughts were focused on the love of those mothers who were being assisted by their sons and their daughters, who returned that love in a very profound way. And as things tend to do for me, I thought of a song that I had heard back in the 70s. The song told the story of a little boy. He had itemized this list of things that he had done for his mom, and each one of those things had a bill next to them. The lyrics went like this. My sister's little boy came in the kitchen one evening while she was fixing supper. He handed her a piece of paper he had been writing on. After wiping her hands on her apron, she took the letter and read it, and this is what it said. For mowing the yard, $5. for making my own bed this week, $1, for going to the store, 50 cents, for playing with my little brother while you went shopping, 25 cents, taking out the trash, $1, and for getting a good report card, $5, for raking the yard, $2, total owed, $14.75. Now, I remember this song very well for one reason. It was on the radio one day, and my mom hurried me in the room, and she said, "Listen to this song." The song went on. She looked at that little boy standing there expecting, and 1,000 memories flashed in her mind. So she picked up the pen and she turned the letter over, and this is what she wrote that little boy. "For the 9 months I carried you growing inside me, no charge. For the nights that I sat up with you, doctored you and prayed for you, no charge. For the time and tears and the cost through the years, there is no charge. When you add it all up, the real cost of my love is no charge." Now, my mom stood there looking at me while this song was playing, making sure that I understood what was going on, making sure that I got the message. And I got the message. But this many years later, I finally understand what that little song was trying to say. It seemed that that song was about a selfish little boy and an unselfish mom. But instead, this little song tells the story of our own wants in spite of what God has already gifted to us. And that is his love pouring out in the easiest way that he could express it, through the love of a mother. You could easily change the characters in that song from a mother and her child to you and to Jesus Christ. The rest of the lyrics need no change at all. The song is the same. God's love for us asks nothing in return. Just accept his love and recognize it when you see it. Recognize it in the eyes and the gestures of those around us. Now, the rest of the lyrics go like this. After that mom finished talking to that little boy, he looked up at her with tears in his eyes and said, "Mom, I love you." And then he reached out, and he got the letter, and he turned it over, and in big words, he wrote, "Paid in full." For Mother's Day this year, remember your mom and the charges that she waived in your own life. And likewise, remember the paid in full stamp on your own list of wants. And say a prayer for your mom and thanks. Because when you add it all up, the real cost of love is no charge.